Great. So welcome everyone to our last community meeting of the semester. I'm so excited it's here. So I'll be sharing with you my screen. We just have some announcements today. And so during our community meeting, we will have several presentations for our social change project. So these are the juniors in the President's Leadership Fellows program. So they've been working a year and a half in these projects in our community through COVID, through it all. They've been still doing it, hanging in there. And they're also currently in class with me. So they're taking the leadership capstone course, LED 450. And so this is also part of their grade. So this is kind of an exciting experience where you get to hear about their project, and you'll have a chance to ask them questions too. So especially for those of you that are in the early beginnings of PLF, feel free to ask them questions on any advice they may have, or if you want to learn a little bit more about their project. Some of these groups might be looking for a sustainability plan, passing on the torch to future PLF groups. So if that's something you're interested to, feel free to reach out and chat to them. So just make sure that you are connected and paying attention, since this is a really important part of their journey and they've spent a lot of time on this. So, and all right, great. Okay, R.I.C.H House group.
Thank you, Jana. Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hannah Lammon, and today my social change project group, including Jana, Haley, Kaylee, and Natalie, will be presenting on the R.I.C.H House program. I will be speaking on behalf of Jana, who is currently on a plane back to Tampa.
The R.I.C.H House program stands for Resources and Community Hope, and it's a safe haven for at-risk children in the neighborhoods of Sulphur Springs and Robles Park. So Sulphur Springs in the north, and then Robles Park below that. So each location is run by a Tampa police officer who serves as a role model, tutor, and liaison between residents and the police department. So each site offers after-school and summer school programming, in addition to a variety of family social services.
At first, we thought that fundraising would be the best option for helping the R.I.C.H House program, but after talking to our main point of contact, it was evident that having consistent volunteers to serve as role models for the R.I.C.H House students was far more important and long-lasting than any monetary donation.
So we decided for our main part of the project was to run two different kinds of workshops. So one on understanding what coronavirus is and how this virus spreads to the younger students, and also a workshop on opportunities for higher education beyond four-year universities for the high school students.
I was originally introduced to the R.I.C.H House program through Spartan Mentors, and I thought it would be a great opportunity for our social change project. As a main point of contact with the R.I.C.H House program, I organized the scheduling for the workshops, facilitated both health presentations, and was able to volunteer consistently. For Jana, she was very involved in the brainstorming last semester by coming up with the initial goals and thinking of efficient ways to create change with the COVID conditions.
For the project, I was involved with planning the health workshop and the college information workshop. I also served as a consistent volunteer at the Sulphur Springs location and reached out to friends and family for donations to the R.I.C.H House.
So I volunteered mainly at the Sulphur Springs location and also participated in their kickball tournament. I was a part of the team that identified the need to share resources about higher education, such as community college, technical school, military, and service academies, and then also sharing information on how to fund these options in terms of the FAFSA, Florida Bright Futures, and specific academic scholarships.
So like Natalie, I spent a lot of time at the Sulphur Springs location, and during this time, I really built and solidified a strong relationship with the kids, and also saw the need to provide and share resources with these students who attend revolving around higher education. Another need of the organization was the need for regular volunteers on a consistent basis for their everyday after school programs, and then like Natalie mentioned, the kickball tournament and their Easter celebration as well. So some victories that we had. The victories of our group were overcoming the obstacles brought by COVID and the friendships that we built with the kids, as well as Tampa PD, who run the program. The Rich House was temporarily closed due to COVID, so we had to restructure our project a bit to adapt. However, we overcame that and included aspects of COVID safety into our project through the health presentations at the sites. Both Rich House program sites are community-based, and it felt as though we became a part of that community through the great friendships we made with the staff, the officers, and the kids.
Like other projects, COVID was a big challenge because we have to reframe what we thought creating a positive social change looked like. And rather than organizing large events, we shifted our focus to perspective on the students and what resources would be beneficial for them.
In addition, another challenge that we had was that 4 out of 5 of us studied abroad. So we had to build and plan our project with the absence of each other throughout 2 semesters. And of course, Jana was unable to be here with us during our most active semester working with the Rich House.
Before COVID, we wanted to plan our larger fundraising event by networking Tampa businesses with values congruent to our own project, which would allow us to ask for larger donations. But we really learned the importance of adaptability and expanding our skills in consciousness of self. We're all planners and very organized, so changing how we created social change and what that would look like for our group was difficult. But we all had to really take a step back and refocus and reorganize the project. This included being active listeners to the Rich House and taking into account the biggest needs during this time, which was actually being consistent volunteers and role models to the students.
For sustainability, this summer, Officer Tanya Gallimore and I will be working on building an infrastructure for volunteer scheduling and signups for UT's business fraternity Beta Alpha Psi, so the Rich House has consistent volunteers for the foreseeable future.
And recently, my mentee from Cohort 12 reached out to me and expressed her social change project. Her group is interested in working with the Rich House as well. So this is really an integral aspect of sustainability, as it ensures that our project is not only going to be continued, but expanded upon in order to aid the Rich House in their endeavors and continue to positively impact the students who attend.
So before we dive into the social change model, we found that our project matched well with the 5 core components of the relational leadership model, which are purposeful, inclusive, empowering, ethical, and process-oriented. In general, this theory focuses on how leadership emerges through group processes, which are founded in the importance of relationships. So this entire experience has been a really big learning process for us. And because of PLF, we had the foundation of friendship and teamwork within our own group. So going into the project, we already knew the strengths of our group members and were able to expand those relationships with both the students and the Tampa PD officers. Shared leadership is also another theory that I thought was very prevalent throughout our project because we were also self-aware as leaders. We already knew what our strengths and weaknesses would be for the project and really relied on each other to collectively reach our goals. So there are 3 C's that really stood out for our group. First, for consciousness of self, we each had to remain conscious of our own individual roles and strengths within the group in order to work effectively toward our goals. This was especially prevalent in planning, organizing, and facilitating both of the workshops. Second, for congruence, in working with any nonprofit, congruence is absolutely essential in the execution of a project because the goal of our project was to provide resources for the students, which is congruent to the mission of the Rich House program. We were better able to serve the students as the foundation of our social change was already there. If as a group or as individuals, we failed to be congruent with the values of the Rich House, we would not have been able to create positive social change. Finally, commitment. Being committed proved to be the best attribute of our group. We all have very busy schedules. However, we remained committed to serving the Rich House because we all knew that the mission of our project and the program itself is foundational in the commitment to the community. Because of this commitment, we were able to plan and present our workshops, volunteer regularly, and also form so many friendships.
So for advice to those who follow us, we recommend that you commit to an organization and social issue that you deeply care about because it makes your work and volunteering more worthwhile. For us, it didn't feel like a project. It just felt like something that we really like doing. And this makes your experience much more rewarding, even when challenges arise. If you are passionate about the organization and the calls, these challenges won't be as difficult or frustrating. And then lastly, start planning your actionable steps early because time flies faster than you think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, team. Great. So any questions? And if you feel more comfortable writing it in the chat, that's okay too. So any questions for these presenters?
I do have a question. How did you guys choose the R.I.C.H house? Like, were there other things that you were going to go with for this, or was it just like set in stone when you decided on it?
I think we all really enjoyed working with kids. I think we collectively agreed on that. I used to be the student coordinator of Spartan Mentors, which is how I originally came across the R.I.C.H House program. So that's how I had that connection prior. And then we also wanted to include some ways to have like health be a part of it because Natalie, Kaylee, and Jana are very involved in, they're all in the health. They want to go into that as their career. So we wanted to include that as well. So that's one of the main reasons we did have the health presentations, and then why we integrated those passions together.
And in the beginning, originally we were this was way back. We were planning on the Boys and Girls Club, the location that's right by school, but they ended up closing that location. So that's kind of how we had to regroup, and Hannah brought up R.I.C.H House.
Any other questions for the group?
I just have a quick question. Was there anything, hi everybody, I'm Stephanie. Was there anything that was surprising or unexpected as you worked through this process?
I think how quickly we were able to make friendships with the kids at the R.I.C.H house. They were so willing to come and learn with us and be respectful. And each week that we kept going, we just kept building stronger relationships with them. And it was so nice that we were able to do that.
Thank you.
Would you do anything differently if you could go back?
I think when we first came in as in freshman year, I remember in LED 200 when we did a mini social change project, I remember us talking about how prior cohorts threw big fundraisers and stuff, and that would be definitely something that would be fun. But I think throughout this whole process, we really learned that creating social change on a very individual level is so much more powerful because we got to experience it all as individuals, and then we also get to carry these relationships with us into the future. And I know that all of us plan on continuing to go to the R.I.C.H house throughout the summer and then next year as well.
Great, thank you, group. Any last questions? Wonderful, thank you so much. Yay, you're done with your presentation. So we have, congrats. All right, we have our next group. The spring is gonna come present. So if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen, and all three of you are here, great.
Yeah, and then before we head in, I'm pretty sure I saw James and Ellen are here as well. They are some of our contacts from the spring.
Great, yeah, Ellen was one of our panelists a few months ago. So hi, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Okay, everyone, good afternoon. My name is Amanda Rivera, and I'm here with Jaclyn, Turko, and Dominic Griffin to present our social change project. The three of us partnered with the Spring of Tampa Bay to determine what their needs were and to create positive social change for them. So to start off, I wanted to talk about our project goals for this entire journey that we have been on for the past 3 years. The three of us explored various nonprofits in the Tampa Bay community before coming across the Spring of Tampa Bay. And we chose to partner with the Spring of Tampa Bay because of their powerful mission statement: prevent domestic violence through protect victims and promote change within the community. Those values truly aligned with our goals as people. And when we found that out, we really wanted to analyze their needs and determine the location in which we can make the most positive social change for them. The boutique portion of the Spring was in dire need of organizational tools, especially a new shelving unit. So our goal was to create that for them. So using the social change model of leadership development, our group noticed two aspects, two C's of the social change model that really applied to our group, and those were collaboration and common purpose. Our group was able to synergistically capitalize on our efforts to come up with an idea for our social change project and for being able to continuously build upon each other, to continuously invest in one another, and in order to create that idea for social change. The other C, common purpose, really applied to our group as we were able to combine our forces to work together and really analyze the mission statement of the Spring in order to provide a meaningful project that would really aid in their cause to make their job better. Myself, Jaclyn, and Dominic all worked together as an effective team to complete our social change project. However, each of us had a very different role within the group. Dominic was our main liaison between the Spring and our group. Jaclyn was our main liaison between our construction team and our group. And I was really the liaison between UT aspect and our group. And all of us really contributed a lot of work in physically building the actual shelving unit, as you can see pictured behind us. One leadership theory that seemed to really apply well for our group was the shared leadership theory. And according to Pierce, Conger, and Wassner, this theory is defined as a dynamic interactive influence process among individuals and groups for which the objective is to lead one another to the achievement of goals or group organizations. So we felt as a group that this leadership theory applied to us the most because we fed off of one another. We were able to influence one another in a positive way, along with providing equal burden and responsibility. So now I'm going to pass it on to Jaclyn to talk about the victory.
Hey everyone. So we had a lot of victories during our time working on this project that I'm excited to share with you. So our first victory was fundraising for our projects. Our graduated team member, Amy, ran a successful fundraiser at a restaurant, and through other donations, we were able to raise around $1,400 to fund our project. So we first spent a portion of our funds on purchasing these 4 shopping carts for the Spring's main thrift store per request of the Springs themselves. And our biggest portion of the project was building these 2 giant, sturdy shelves from scratch with the help of my brother, who you saw in a picture previously. So they are display items for the boutique to hold the heavier merchandise such as dinner sets. And our final contribution is what you see here. We raised $2,800 about through donations without dollars fundraiser. We were happy to raise a bit of money for them to kind of send off our project. So a leadership theory that we felt our group embodied during this process was a social change model of leadership. This style is one that many college students find themselves working with and can be described as a purposeful, collaborative, values-based process that results in positive social change. So our group had a defined goal based off of what we found important and purposeful, and worked strongly together to be able to have this project realized. Our social change project was a great way to complete something needed for a nonprofit that displayed our core values, and this process absolutely aided our ability to engage in socially responsible leadership. I'm going to hand it off to Dominic, who's going to talk a bit about the challenges we faced.
Thank you, Jaclyn. So kind of our first major challenge that we faced was that actually the management of the Spring during our project changed about halfway through. Our original contact was named Connie, and for our original ideas, which will be shown next, were approved by her. So with her, we were originally going to create a system for organizing their hangers and have a sticker system to help move the inventory off of the shelves. However, when the management changed over the winter break of the 2019-2020 school year, and James became the current manager of the spring, he actually implemented those ideas we had talked about with Connie. This was great for the spring. However, this meant that we had to start at square one again and get with James to brainstorm new ideas. So from this challenge, we learned to be very flexible with ourselves and our project, since we realized that even if we thought something was set in stone, that did not mean that it necessarily was. So for our project, COVID affected us the most for our planning portion. In order to meet with James and figure out what we needed to do, the best form of communication was face-to-face, which was very hard to do when we were trying to plan our new ideas. Also, the spring was shut down for a decent amount of time during COVID, so we were unable to implement any of our ideas until they were operable again. So one of our main challenges was actually our scheduling. So this was the hardest challenge for our group, since our group has differing schedules and commitments that we have, which relates to the social change model commitment value. So during the progression of the project, this was very evident, since during certain times of the project, some of our group members had greater time and schedule constraints than other members. So with that, we also had to try to schedule a time that would work for our group, the spring, and Jaclyn's brother, who helped us build the shelving unit, to meet and complete our project. However, due to scheduling conflicts, this took us nearly 2 months, and many different dates that were set were changed due to last-minute conflicts that were in nobody's control. So we tackled this challenge by making sure we kept in constant communication with each other and all related parties about our schedules and when we were planning on completing the phases of the project. Sort of a last small challenge was the actual creation of the shelving unit, because we had to create it at Jaclyn's brother's place due to his tools and workspace. However, this meant we had to move the different parts into the room where they now stand, with the parts being very large and very heavy, so it took at least 2 people to move them. They were also a bit difficult to maneuver, especially since the space where they now stand was very tight to the dimensions of the units. So overall, with the project, one thing we would do differently during our project is we would try to figure out and further emphasize the relation between UT and the spring for a possibility of an internship. We had talked about this with both Connie and James, but it just never came to fruition. So that's definitely something we wanted to do differently. So next, Jaclyn's going to be talking about our sustainability plan.
Thanks, Dom. So in the physical aspect of sustainability, these shelving units are incredibly sturdy and versatile, and will be lasting for a long time. And as a other way of sustainability, there is still more work to be done. If any cohort would like to take on the project, these cabinets can use a fresh coat of paint and some sanding down to look a bit more nicer. And the door has been opened to work with the spring in the future. James has expressed interest. So if any cohort is interested in working with the spring, continuing our project, or any other projects that come to mind, the opportunity is there. And I highly suggest a cohort work with them in the future because they are delightful. So some advice I would give is prepare for change and prepare to be adaptable. You could have the most perfectly laid out plan and it can all go up in flames just like that. So yeah, just really be open-minded and ready for change.
One piece of advice I would have is that, especially for the team leaders, is definitely delegate to everyone in the group. Do not try to do everything yourself. You are a team. Utilize the strengths of each individual member and create that consistency and cohesiveness between your group.
And my piece of advice would be to make sure you're passionate. Make sure you're passionate about your social change project. Make sure that you're passionate about the nonprofit that you work with. Because no matter what hiccups come in the road, as long as you're passionate, you're going to get the job done. And it's going to be a great one if you're really passionate and happy about it. So I just wanted to close us off with our references, along with saying a great thank you to everyone that helped us along the way, including James and Connie, who's not here, along with Amy, who used to be within our group, and of course, Anna for supervising us throughout everything, and Chad for helping us construct. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks, team. Great. Yeah, any questions for them about this process? how did the fundraising idea come up?
Which part? Are you talking about the fundraising with the spring that we partnered with the spring, or?
Yeah, so it was the partnership. I'm just curious for you to explain a little bit more, right? So the partnership and sending out the surveys, and so that
was actually, I can't remember if it was either Ellen or Amanda Puccinelli, who was another one of our contacts. They reached out to us and expressed interest for us to try to partner with them and help them with that part of our project. So it's kind of a happy, not accident, but kind of a happy addition to our project.
Thank you. Yeah, and so that communication with that partner kind of really helped you generate a lot of these ideas and move forward. So wonderful.
Yeah.
Give people a second if you want to add anything in the chat. All right, thanks group. Great work. This is exciting. So definitely for those of you that need volunteer hours too, pop by the spring as well, and then you can see their work at the thrift store.
Yeah.
So, great, thanks. Okay, so next we have the anti-bullying group.
I'm going to share my screen.
Great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brinkley.
I'm Megan.
My name is Jake.
My name is Allie.
I'm Abbey.
And I'm Ashleigh.
And our social change project is about bullying education and prevention. 1 out of every 5 students get bullied. About 160,000 students skip school for bullying, and those same students score drastically lower, discouraging them from school. So our social change project did not involve a nonprofit, but instead involved creating a video that will be shown around the Hillsborough County to inform each student what bullying is, what to do, and what not to do. We also wanted to provide an easy guide to give the teachers questions to help the students reflect. The overall goal of our social change project was to spread awareness to students in schools about the issue of bullying, how to avoid being a bystander, and how to be inclusive to those who are different than you. We wanted to share a relatable video that helped students in all situations. So Hazards, Bully at Work is originally a play, and our original idea did not include a video, but was instead a play that would be shown in schools and performed by actors. However, after needed adjustment, we transformed the play into an interactive video. We filmed, acted, edited, and posted a video based off the play. It was written in 2009, so of course we had to edit and add some 2021 relatable examples. Each of our roles within the social change project play a key factor. We all edited the script prior to filming, as you can see in that picture. Allie was in contact with schools all over Hillsborough. Abbey, Jake, Megan, Ashleigh, and I were the actors in the film. And Jake also dealt with the legal rights of the play.
So some of the positive changes that we've seen come about as a result of our social change project have been twofold. So first and foremost, we have created a tangible video that is able to sustainably be used over and over again throughout the course of the coming years by different schools within the Hillsborough County school system. And the second positive change that we've seen come about is the ability for this video to serve underserved schools that might not have it within their budget to be able to afford big name guest speakers or to have as many assemblies as other schools within the school system are able to do, simply due to lack of funding or lack of accessibility. And some of the challenges that we've faced as a result of our social change project have first and foremost been the pandemic. So due to the pandemic, we had to figure out a way to adapt our play from originally being an in-person touring show that would serve as like an assembly style with the actors being able to provide a talk back with students and the students to engage in this format. We had to figure out a way to change it and make it more sustainable. And as a result, we created a video with a facilitation guide for teachers to be able to help have some of those same conversations with their students. One of the second challenges that we faced was getting the legal rights to the video, but that was easy to overcome by just having an open dialogue between Karen, who is the original playwright and owner of the show, and myself, going back and forth between signing contracts and everything that involved. And the third shortcoming that we faced was that transition between sophomore and junior year at the University of Tampa. So that is the self-discovery period that some students unfortunately decide that the University of Tampa is not the best fit for them. So our original group had downsized, and we had between sophomore and junior year, we had merged with another group to create what we now have seen in what we now see as our group as the Bullies group. And we overcame this difficulty by finding the similar interest and passion in creating a bullying education campaign.
So through everything, we feel that our project was successful as we were able to complete filming, confirm the video will be shown within different classrooms, and we also actually had interest by a mental health company, Mindwise, about showing this video to their company. So of course there were bumps in our success as we discussed prior. However, we were able to share the video even through this time, and the accessibility to students and flexibility of being able to show this video at any time in the classes also ended up being a success to our adjustments. Our plan to ensure our project will continue started with Allie sending the videos out to over 134 schools, which you can see on the picture, and it will be shown to 3rd and 5th graders. The amount of exposure will help keep the project alive. We also developed a facilitation guide that asks discussion questions, and through evoking self-reflection, we hope to leave a lasting impact on the students and teachers. We also have a Google Doc to receive feedback in order to improve and grow with the new times. And of course, the video will always be up on YouTube.
So connecting what we've learned in LED 450 to the elements of our social change project, one of the theories that we would like to connect is a theory by John Dugan that is called the Strategic Social Change Leadership Theory, which reflects a local nonprofit groups and engagement with more grassroots efforts that go beyond simply just serving the underserved or the disadvantaged. And some of the motivations for action within this leadership theory is a sense of systemic inequality, which our group focused on by creating a tangible asset that schools are able to have regardless of the school's income stature and the demographics that make up that school. And then the second motivation for action that focused on this theory was a vision of justice, which the 6 of us were able to come together and have a vision for a generation that is able to have bullying education be part of their holistic development as they are in grade school. And just another theory that we had used to influence us was the path goal theory. And moving on to the social change model, the two of the C's that we focused on within this project was consciousness of self and citizenship. So with regards to consciousness of self, most of our group has experienced bullying in one form or another, and we've seen the damages that it can cause if left untaught from a young age. Our well-developed self-conscious of how the events in our childhood shaped the ways that we act now has inspired us to advocate and to start creating an anti-bullying campaign that will hopefully help educate students at a young age about what bullying looks like in the various different forms it can take. And focusing on the second C, citizenship, citizenship is all about making sure that proper human rights are taken into account within everyday life. Our concern for students in Hillsborough County has inspired us to take on this anti-bullying campaign among the various grade schools and students at various grade levels who might be most vulnerable and most vulnerable to bullying at such a developmental age, and whose school systems might not have the adequate amount of resources to provide a holistic anti-bullying education, specifically focusing on schools within the Tampa Bay community. So now we'd like to take a quick couple seconds just to show you a little bit of some of our video.
Let me know if I can't hear it.
Hey, can I work with you guys? Ew, no, I don't want to work with you. Yeah, have my seat. Thank you. That wasn't cool. You shouldn't do that. What you did wasn't cool. Knock it off. Don't be a bully. Don't be a bully.
And to start to wrap up our presentation, some advice that we have for the younger cohorts is to not be discouraged by lack of communication or by lack of resources available. So what we mean by that is if there is a social issue or a social issue that you and your group are passionate about, obviously first start by trying to look within Hillsborough County, as well as the larger Tampa Bay community, to see if there are some nonprofits or some people that are working to have those initiatives to fight against that or to fight with that social change. However, if you don't notice that there are groups working towards your goal, you are more than able to work with Anna and to almost freelance a way to be able to tackle the issue and to start tackling the issue by yourself.
And those are our resources or references. And then we just want to thank everyone for your time. And if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
This isn't a question, but more of a comment, because Jacob's been keeping me informed on this project for what seems like a very long time, through the different stages of doing it in person, doing it as a play in the schools, to the video. So just want to commend you all for kind of reinventing how you can still move forward with this project in the time of a pandemic. So really good job adapting and not giving up.
Thank you, Dean Gratz.
Thank you.
So if a group were to like pick up this project and continue it, where would you think that they should spend most of their work on, or could they help enhance this further?
I think you could start with the Google feedback form that we made. We basically asked how extensive our questions were and if they reached any type of like deeper level discussion within the classroom. Obviously 3rd through 5th is a huge gap and people are at different developmental stages, but I feel like really targeting maybe a specific grade level, if you see like feedback coming in like this was way over their head, just kind of like adjusting the project in that way.
Also, of course, like it was made in 2009, so like there was like a lot of edits that we had to do for now. So just keeping it updated on like what kids would see in like their time right now, so it's not like out of date, and like maybe like doing a whole new video and like keeping it updated like on the YouTube channel, like have like some kind of series so it's accessible for all teachers and they can just keep going back to the same page and showing it year after year, but having different updates.
And to build off of the points that Megan and Brinkley just made, and a comment by Dr. Devine that was in the group or in the chat, if another group were to want to continue a project similar to this, possibly developing it and tailoring, not necessarily bullying, but maybe holistic education of how to express emotions, and just different things that aren't necessarily taught in school, that kind of add to the holistic aid of how a child comes up, so they're able to like understand that this is what anger feels like and this is how I can express it, or this is how to properly express that I'm excited, and things like that.
Oh, sorry, Abby.
I was just going to say, I also think it would be beneficial once it's safe and once COVID is over to actually do an in-person tour assembly kind of thing, because I personally experienced that when I was in school, and it's really like impactful to have someone say it to your face and get to experience it in person.
Adding on to what Jake had mentioned before, I just think mental health awareness, even in elementary school, I think that's very valuable and important for these kids to learn, even through bullying, but in other aspects too.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for the group? I think you guys should go on tour. I like that comment. That's great. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Congrats. And are you all able to share the link, the YouTube link with us? Is it ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's ready.
Okay, I definitely want to see it, so that'd be fun.
Yeah, it's bad acting, but I'll drop it in the chat.
That's great. Thank you. All right, so we have our 4th and final group today. So I'll let you all introduce yourselves and get started with the sharing. And as they set up, just so everyone knows, we do have a little bit of an announcement after them, and then I'm going to meet with the students that are that have expressed interest in being a retreat facilitator for Cohort 14. So hang on before then. Don't sign out yet, okay?
Hi
Hi guys, my name's Ava.
I'm Sophie.
I'm Noah.
I'm Rebekah, and our group also had a couple members that either transferred or graduated, so shout out to Caitlin and Katie.
Yeah, and so before we started, I just wanted to say that our group kind of split all of our goals and we each worked on everything collaboratively. We didn't really have specific goals since we were just working towards communication with the group we worked with and creating the handbook, which we'll talk about in later slides. So my group worked with the I Am Youth Group, which is a nonprofit organization for middle school Muslim boys. And their mission is to instill the cultural identity of our youth through heritage, education, leadership skills, and community service. The I Am students come from many diverse ethnic backgrounds, which are represented on this map by the red arrows. And the students that attend the weekly meetings come from all over the Tampa Bay area. So we were first introduced to the president and founder of this organization, Noor Shahab, a little over a year ago through Anna. Like other groups have mentioned, my group kind of came together from different other groups that were kind of forming. So when Anna reached out to us, she pitched us the idea to help Noor build her organization from the ground up and pretty much implement all these ideas she had for her organization. And so Noor had told us that when she first founded this group, her sons were having a difficult time in school due to their identities, and they struggled to connect with other Muslim youth as they were like no other programs designated specifically for them. So she started one herself. And during our first initial meeting with Noor, she gave us a long list of ideas from forms to becoming a nonprofit, raising money, lesson plans, social media, and even t-shirt designs. So my group knew the best way to start was to pick one task and run with that idea. So these are the foundational aspects of the youth group, and we use these values as our common purpose when we created our handbook for the I Am Youth Group, which Rebekah will talk more about.
So Noor, when we first met with her, she introduced us to this group of about 30 middle school boys. And it was kind of daunting how you can go from being in college and kind of being distant from your school days to suddenly being presented with 30 boys ages 8 to 11 that you're now going to be in charge of designing a program for. It was kind of a shock. So we really started looking at the activities that we could do that would span that age gap, because 8 is a lot different than 14, but we had to design programs for everybody. So we designed a handbook for the facilitation leaders, as well as a student journal, so that the program could be easily facilitated for many years. We decided on a couple of we had bounced around a bunch of ideas, but we ended up using the leadership challenge model to really facilitate our program, because it was just a linear path. For middle schoolers especially, it's hard to see some of these more complex leadership theories. So this original model is very nice and linear, and it can be facilitated over several weeks and months. We decided to include several different activities for each guide and so in each step. So in September of last year, we actually sent Noor this handbook that we had created over the summer with about 5 activities for each stage that ranged in activity level and difficulty, so that we could cover the entire group. And it was really useful for the program to have a concrete curriculum. The original idea when we were talking as a group before we met with Noor was that we would go and teach, but after speaking to Noor, she really wanted this program to be one that was facilitated by older adult Muslim males, as it's a really important mentorship relationship that the boys would be able to develop with men in their religious community. So we really had to check ourselves and use that consciousness of self of the social change model to say, are we the best people for this job? And we had to come to the idea that we weren't. We had to collaborate with the teachers that are in this program to make sure that the boys are cared for best. So that really plays into the servant leadership model, as we had to do something that wasn't in our original idea because it's what was best for our organization.
So we were also able to attend a few meetings, both in person and on Zoom. And Rebekah and I got to go to one of their in-person meetings recently, where we got to listen to their lessons that they had. And we also got to bring an activity to the boys, which we tied back to their theme of teamwork and working together. This activity included a very wild game of partner soccer, where one of the partners was blindfolded. We also got to sit in on some of their other programs. This youth group is more than just the leadership program for boys. They're currently starting a group for girls in STEM, and they also offer a club, a chess club / tournament where there's prizes for the boys, and they even have a children's group where they teach Arabic. So it's truly incredible to see how far this group has come in a year and a half, saying that they started from having nothing to all of this. So with any group, it's important to encourage your teammates and also offer rewards. So after each module, the boys receive a certificate and a small gift, which Rebekah and I got to see when we went and visited the boys. And our group is actually going to host their last meeting of this next module, where we'll tour Plant Hall and discuss the minarets, which are part of Islamic architecture. So one of our struggles was COVID, which impacted our group in several different ways. We had to revise our activity list due to the need for virtual activities. And we also realized that attention spans would likely be reduced while virtual. So we decreased the intensity of some of our lesson plans. And we also were not able to attend meetings as often as we would like. So that kind of was a struggle for us too. Another one of our struggles was communication. One being communication between our group and NOR, especially over breaks and when COVID first hit. So it would take us a while for us to reestablish effective communication. And also the communication between us and within our group alone. As Rebekah mentioned, we had two other group members in our group before one graduated and one transferred. And so that made it hard sometimes when one person had the direct contact with NOR, we had to reestablish that communication ourselves.
So our project is still going, even for our own stage. As Ava mentioned, we're planning on bringing the boys early May to UT as kind of a reward and celebration for all of the work that they've put in throughout this past year. We are also looking at our sustainability. We sent NOR a pretty lengthy manual that has activities that they haven't even started yet because they were virtual. So there are activities that they can do next year, so they'll be able to reuse this program. And there's also always a potential for a future group. NOR has so many ideas, and she would love to have another cohort pick this project up, whether it's working with the leadership group, which is the middle school boys, or transitioning into working maybe with the STEM program. She has huge goals of fundraising and she's an incredible visionary. So I know she was going to try to be here, but I don't think she's made it on the call yet. So on behalf of NOR, if you are interested, please contact Ava or myself, and we would gladly put you in contact with her. She's always looking for more help. And then some advice, making sure that your group is communicating is hugely important. As Ava mentioned, communication was some of our biggest struggles, and also just holding everybody accountable. So not only saying, hey, I can do that, but actually following through and making sure that everybody's on the same page.
So these are just some of our references, and then we just wanted to say thank you to Anna, and then obviously to Nora, which I don't think she's on this call, but if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thanks, group. Great job. Yeah, this manual they created is very, very detailed and really helpful too. So that's great. And I'm excited that they're coming to a visit on campus. This has been also about 1.5 years that you all have been trying to plan this with COVID. So I'm excited that it's happening. So that's great. Any questions for them? So one of the questions I had was, what considerations did you have when building the handbook, since this was a group of middle school Muslim boys, right? We talked a little bit about kind of building a mini PLF with them, but what were some of your thoughts you had while trying to create this?
Katie and I really kind of worked on choosing a model. We originally had looked at doing the social change model, but especially with the fact they only meet once a week and attendance isn't always guaranteed. You know, there could be different boys there every week. So we wanted to choose a little bit more simplistic of a model. And way back in LED 200, Katie really enjoyed and appreciated the aspects of the social or the leadership challenge model because it was very personal. And it would suit well with their identities. So their cohesiveness as a group, and they were able to also bring in aspects of their culture and religion because the model does have a lot of personal connections.
Great, thanks, Rebekah. Wonderful. Any other questions? Great job. All right, congrats everyone. I'm so proud of you all juniors. So this is it, your social change project. So that's really exciting. Thank you all for presenting. This is great to hear and see all the work that you've done. I'm really proud of you all. So thank you. Wonderful. So I just wanted to have some really quick announcements before everyone heads out. And again, make sure you're staying behind if you plan on facilitating the retreat. So one announcement that I want to make is our graduates. So our 2021 graduates, it's happening. We'll be celebrating next week. So I just wanted to make sure your names were on here. And I know in this cohort, we have Haley and Dominic who are graduating early as well. So they'll be joining the graduation ceremony. And with the seniors 4 years here at UT, we have Gina, Kelly, Lily, Max, Kenzie, Aaron, Julia, Sydney, Bree, Fallon, and Jules. So congrats everyone. I'm so proud of you all. You completed PLF as well. So that's exciting. And I also wanted to say thank you so much for if any advisors want to say hi and turn their cameras on, you don't have to, but we have a lot of advisors and PLF mentors here today that came to see you all present. So thank you so much for all your support and meeting with your mentees and being there for them and supporting the PLF program. So I really appreciate it. So thank you for being here too. Great, thanks everyone. That concludes our PLF meetings for the spring. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Anna.
Bye, Stephanie. Thanks.
Thanks, Anna.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks. All right, let me stop my
Bye,
share.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Bailey, I did get your question. Do you want to text me or do you want to just ask right now? Because that's okay. You can ask me right now.
You're meeting with other people, right? Who are going to be here?
Yes, I am. I'm meeting with.
Okay, cool. I'll just shoot you a text. It's not a big deal at all.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.